The sunken city of Yonaguni, off the coast of Japan, where the deep blue waters meet ancient legends, Arin Cade prepared to dive into one of the world's greatest mysteries, the Yonaguni Monument. For years, experts have debated its origins. Some believed it was just a strange natural rock formation, but others whispered that it was a lost city, a piece of a forgotten civilization swallowed by the sea. Arin had his own reasons for being here. He had followed a trail of clues all the way from Easter Island. The symbols he found there, etched into the silent stone of the Moai, perfectly matched carvings said to lie beneath the ocean floor near Yonaguni. As he double-checked his dive gear, the salty air felt charged with anticipation. He looked out at the endless expanse of blue. If the monoliths of Easter Island were memory keepers, Arin said to himself, his voice a low murmur against the sound of the waves, this place might be the archive. With a final breath, Arin Cade descended into the ocean. The world above vanished, replaced by a silent blue kingdom. Sunlight pierced the surface in shimmering rays, but as he went deeper, the light faded and the water grew colder. He was entering a realm of shadows and secrets. Below him, strange, towering shapes began to emerge from the gloom. They weren't the familiar soft forms of coral reefs. These were different. Then he saw it. The sight took his breath away. Massive stone terraces, perfectly level, stretched out before him. Steps with impossibly sharp, 90-degree angles were carved directly into the seabed. This was no accident of nature. The precision, the scale, it was undeniably the work of intelligent hands. It was a city, sleeping under the waves. Schools of brightly colored fish darted through what looked like door-like openings in the stone walls, adding a splash of life to the silent, ancient structures. Arin navigated through the submerged streets, his fins propelling him gently. He felt like an intruder in a world that had been sealed away for millennia. As he explored, his wrist device, a custom-built scanner, began to glow faintly. It had picked up a signal, a weak energy pulse, coming from somewhere deeper within the monument. The city had more secrets to reveal. Following the persistent ping of his device, Arin discovered a massive stone staircase. Unlike the other structures, this one was not just functional, it was ornate. The steps were carved with swirling symbols that resembled crashing waves and radiant suns, a language of the sea and sky. The staircase descended even further into the darkness, into a part of the monument that felt older, more sacred. At the very bottom, nestled in the sand, stood something impossible. A sealed stone door, perfectly upright. It was massive, and seemed to have been waiting for centuries. Algae and sea life clung to its surface, camouflaging it. Arin swam closer and gently brushed away the green tendrils. As his fingers traced the carvings beneath, they began to emit a soft, ethereal glow. The symbols pulsed with a gentle blue light, reacting to his touch. With a low, grinding sound that vibrated through the water, the ancient stone door slid open. It didn't reveal more water, but a pocket of darkness. Behind the door was an air-filled chamber, hidden beneath the crushing pressure of the sea. Arin pulled off his rebreather and surfaced inside, taking a deep, astonished breath. He was standing in a room that shouldn't exist. The air was cool and smelled of stone and salt. The chamber, which Arin named the Hall of Tides, was breathtaking. Water flowed along intricate channels, carved into the floor, glowing with the same blue light as the door. The currents moved in a steady rhythm, rising and falling like the slow, deep breaths of a sleeping giant. The walls were covered in magnificent stone pillars, each depicting ancient seafarers navigating by the stars. It was a tribute to a people who understood the oceans and the heavens. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the chamber, and the floor trembled. The water in the channels, once calm, began to surge violently. The levels shifted, rising and falling with chaotic speed. Arin realized this wasn't just a hall. It was a puzzle, a living mechanism. He had to stabilize the flow, or the chamber might collapse. He spotted several stone valves along the walls, carved into the shape of beautiful seashells. Acting quickly, he swam to the nearest one and turned it. The flow in one channel slowed. He moved from valve to valve, rotating them, observing how each one redirected the glowing currents. It was a delicate dance of balance and logic. Finally, with one last turn, the water calmed, returning to its gentle, rhythmic breathing. The chamber was stable again, and as the last ripple faded, a hidden doorway slid open in the far wall, revealing the path forward. Arin stepped through the new opening and into a much larger hall. His footsteps echoed as two massive stone guardians began to emerge from the walls. They were humanoid figures, at least 10 feet tall, encased in armor that looked like the scales of a fish. Their eyes glowed with a faint, watchful light. They moved with a slow, deliberate power, and with every step they took, the water in the room surged into powerful waves. They were protectors, awakened by his presence. Arin backed away, his mind racing. He couldn't fight them. He noticed symbols on their chests' constellations, but not the ones he knew. They were ancient star patterns, the same ones used by the earliest sailors. He remembered the crystal shard he'd recovered from Easter Island, a device that recorded star maps. He pulled out the shard. It hummed in his hand. Aiming it at the wall, he activated it, projecting the stored starlight patterns onto the stone. The room filled with a dazzling display of ancient constellations. The guardians paused, their glowing eyes fixed on the star maps, and a low hum resonated from their stone bodies. They recognized the signal. It was a key, a sign of a friend. Slowly, reverently, the two colossal guardians bowed their heads. Their duty fulfilled, they retreated back into the walls, their forms melting into the stone until they were gone. The path was clear. Arin entered the heart of Yonaguni. He found himself in a vast circular chamber. In the center, a glowing orb of pure light was suspended in mid-air, floating just above a perfectly still pool of water. It was the Sunken archive. As Arin watched, mesmerized, images began to form within the orb. He saw visions of ancient cities, not just in Japan, but all over the world, connected by vibrant trade routes across the oceans. He saw people sharing knowledge, building monuments, and linking them with lines of energy. He saw civilizations united not by land, but by a shared passion for exploration. This was a global network, Arin whispered, his voice filled with awe. The oceans weren't barriers. They were highways. The world had been connected in a way modern humanity had forgotten. As the last image faded, the orb released a small object that floated down into Arin's outstretched hand. It was a crystal, formed from what looked like solidified water, pulsing with a soft internal light. It was a key another piece of the ancient world's incredible puzzle. Just as he grasped it, the entire chamber shook violently. The ground trembled, and deep cracks spider-webbed across the stone walls. Seawater began rushing in, pouring through the new fissures. The archive was collapsing. The ancient systems that had kept it dry for so long were failing. Clutching the water crystal, Arin sprinted back the way he came. He ran through the Hall of the Guardians, then the Hall of Tides, with a torrent of surging water chasing right behind him. The roar of the collapsing city was deafening. He dove through the final doorway, just as the chamber behind him was completely flooded, and launched himself upward, kicking hard for the surface. The pressure of the water pushed him up, and he shot toward the distant light. He broke through the waves, gasping for air, just as the stone entrance far below sealed itself forever, taking its secrets back into the depths. Floating on the calm surface of the Pacific, with the last rays of sunlight painting the sky, Arin held the glowing water crystal up. It pulsed softly in his hand, a beacon of lost knowledge. He looked out at the vast expanse of the ocean. The world was connected once, he said quietly to the setting sun. And it can be again. As the sun dipped below the waves, Arin Cade turned toward the horizon. The crystal in his hand was more than just an artifact. It was a compass, and he could already sense where his next adventure would lead. The journey to reunite the world was far from over. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter in Arin Cade's journey. See you next time